Have you ever met someone who seemed incredibly strong on the outside? The kind of person who always carries themselves with confidence, who gives the best advice, who always shows up for others. But deep down, you felt something else? Something unspoken, something broken. Maybe you are that person. You're the one who keeps everyone else standing, even when inside, you're quietly falling apart. People call you resilient, brave, strong-minded. But the truth is, your strength wasn't born out of ease, it was born out of pain. And that's what we're here to explore today. Because the strongest minds are often the most broken. Not because they are weak, not because they've failed, but because life has tested them in ways most people could never imagine. Behind every strong mind, there is a story. Of nights spent awake in silence, of battles fought in the dark, of scars hidden where no one can see. But here's the question. Why is it that suffering and strength seem to walk hand in hand? Why do those who look unshakable often carry the deepest cracks inside? Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you'll discover might change the way you see not only yourself, but also the people around you. This is not just a story about strength and suffering. It's about you, about the battles you've fought, the pain you've carried, and the truth that maybe your brokenness is not your weakness, but the very reason you're strong. Strength. It's a word we admire. We associate it with power, resilience, control. When we look at someone with a strong mind, we imagine a person untouched by chaos, someone who always has answers, someone immune to life's storms. But here's the paradox. The strongest minds are rarely born in comfort. They are forged in fire. They are shaped not by the absence of pain, but by the constant presence of it. Think about the people you know. The ones who always keep their composure when everyone else is panicking. The ones who seem to endure heartbreak, loss, or disappointment and still keep going. We admire them, but we rarely ask what it costs them to carry that strength. Let's be honest, strength often begins as survival. When life throws challenges at you, when you face rejection, betrayal, trauma, or loss, you have two choices: collapse under the weight of it or adapt and grow tougher. Most of the time, people who become strong-minded are not born that way. They were forced to be. They had no other option. Maybe as a child you learned to stay quiet in order to keep peace in the house. Maybe as a teenager you were bullied or isolated, and so you built walls around your heart. Maybe as an adult you went through heartbreak or failure, and instead of falling apart, you taught yourself to stand tall, to keep smiling, to keep moving forward. From the outside, people look at you and think, "Wow, you're so strong." But inside, you know the cracks. You know the weight of carrying everything on your own. Here's the irony. Society praises strength but often ignores suffering. People cheer for the fighter who rises after being knocked down, but they don't see the sleepless nights, the loneliness, the internal battles. And so we begin to live inside an illusion. We start to believe that our strength is who we are. We wear it like armor, hoping nobody notices the pain beneath it. But strength is not the absence of brokenness. It is the product of it. The cracks in your heart, the scars on your soul. They don't disappear when you act strong. They remain. And sometimes those scars whisper to you in the quiet moments, reminding you that behind the resilience, there's still a story of suffering. Think about this. Why do we admire strong characters in books, movies, or history? It's never because their lives were easy. It's because they endured. Because they were tested. Their strength was carved out of their deepest wounds. And maybe that's true for you too. Maybe the reason people see you as strong-minded isn't because you've had a perfect life, but because you've survived what should have broken you. But here's where the danger lies. When we identify only with our strength, we silence our pain. We pretend we don't feel it. We say, "I'm fine," even when we're not. We become experts at holding it together, for others, for appearances, for survival. And yet the brokenness remains. So the real question is not just why the strongest minds are broken, but also this: what happens when you stop pretending? What happens when you finally face the cracks instead of hiding them? Because the truth is, ignoring your brokenness doesn't make you stronger. Acknowledging it does. Have you ever wondered why some of the strongest people you know also seem to carry the heaviest silences? They laugh, they give advice, they inspire. But when the room grows quiet, when no one else is watching, you can almost sense that something deeper lives inside them, something they rarely talk about. That's because strength is often just the surface. Underneath it, there are wounds. Wounds that have never fully healed, but instead became part of their identity. Let's think about this. When life forces you to endure pain again and again, you start to develop strategies to cope. Maybe you distract yourself with work. Maybe you learn to comfort others because comforting them makes you forget your own pain. Maybe you wear a smile so convincingly that even you begin to believe it. But the truth? Every strong person you've ever admired has scars. Some you can see, most you can't. And the hardest part is, these wounds are often misunderstood. Take, for example, the person who always seems to give the best advice. People run to them in times of crisis because they appear wise, collected, calm. But why do they know so much about pain? Because they've lived it. They've walked through darkness themselves. Their wisdom is not born from theory, it's born from survival. Or consider the friend who always listens to everyone else's problems but never talks about their own. People call them selfless, kind, strong. But the silence around their own struggles isn't always peace. Sometimes it's fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being seen as weak. Fear that if they finally spoke their truth, people would step back instead of stepping closer. And so the strongest people often live with hidden wounds that no one acknowledges. They don't cry in front of others. They don't show their anger. But here's the tragedy. When strength becomes your identity, vulnerability starts to feel like a crime. You convince yourself that you're not allowed to break, that you must always be the one holding others up, that if you fall, the people around you will fall too. So you hide your wounds. And yet, the soul has a way of whispering what the mouth refuses to say. Those wounds don't disappear. They shape your thoughts, your choices, your relationships. They make you cautious. They make you question. They make you hold back when you want to move forward. Think about it. How many times have you wanted to tell someone what you're really feeling, but the words got stuck in your throat? How many times have you been surrounded by people but still felt utterly alone? Because nobody could truly understand the battles you fight silently. That's the paradox of strength. People see your resilience but not your pain. They see your victories but not the battles you had to fight in the dark. They see the armor but never the wounds underneath it. And maybe that's why the strongest minds often feel the most broken. Because carrying hidden wounds is exhausting. Because pretending you're fine when you're not chips away at your soul. Because silence becomes a prison where your own thoughts echo too loudly. But here's the question I want you to sit with. What if your hidden wounds are not proof of weakness, but proof of depth? What if they are not shameful scars, but signs of the battles that shaped you into the person you are today? The world may not see them. People may never fully understand them. But those wounds are the very reason you have the empathy, wisdom, and resilience you carry now. So maybe it's time we stop asking, why are strong people broken? And instead ask, how did their brokenness become the reason for their strength? Because maybe strength is not about being unscarred. It's about learning how to keep walking with the scars. Have you ever noticed how the loudest battles aren't always the ones fought in public? Some of the heaviest wars are fought in silence, inside the mind, inside the heart, where no one else can see. And that's the truth about strong people. Their most brutal battles are often invisible to the world. On the outside, they look calm, they look stable, they look like they've got everything figured out. But behind closed doors, when no one is watching, they are wrestling with storms that could break anyone else apart. The silent battles are the hardest because you fight them without witnesses. There are no medals for surviving them, no applause when you endure another sleepless night, no recognition when you smile despite feeling broken inside. And perhaps that's the cruelest part. Nobody knows. Imagine carrying a weight that no one can see. You go through your day, smiling, working, talking, laughing. People think you're strong because you're functioning. But deep down, every action feels like lifting a mountain. Every smile feels borrowed. Every "I'm fine" feels like a lie. This is what makes the strongest minds so tired. not the challenges they face publicly, but the loneliness of carrying invisible pain. Think about it. Have you ever laid awake at night replaying conversations, choices, or regrets over and over in your head? Felt like you were screaming silently inside? Have you ever wanted to tell someone what you were going through, but stopped yourself because you thought they wouldn't understand? Or worse, they might walk away. That's the silent battle. The battle of pretending while inside you're falling apart. But here's the strange paradox. These hidden wars are what forge the strongest minds, because strength doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the fire of survival. The very act of enduring those nights of silence, of fighting thoughts that threaten to consume you, gives you a depth that others may never know. This is why people who seem so strong are often the best listeners. They recognize pain in others instantly because they know what it feels like to carry it alone. They don't dismiss your struggles because they've lived their own. They don't tell you to just get over it because they understand that silent battles don't end with a snap of the fingers. But here's the heartbreaking truth. While they carry others, they rarely let anyone carry them. They've become so used to being the rock for everyone else that they don't know how to be vulnerable themselves. And so the cycle continues. The strong remain silent, their wounds remain hidden, and the world continues to believe they're unbreakable. But let me ask you this, how long can someone carry invisible weights before they collapse? How long can someone pretend to be fine before the cracks start to show? How long can a mind fight battles alone before it begins to break under the pressure? Strength, after all, has a cost, and for the strongest minds, that cost is often loneliness, exhaustion, and an unspoken longing for someone to truly see them. Not their mask, not their strength, but their pain. And maybe that's the lesson here. The strongest minds are not broken because they are weak. They are broken because they've had to carry battles that most people will never even see, let alone survive. So the next time you meet someone who seems unshakable, pause for a moment. Look a little closer. Ask yourself, what silent battles might they be fighting right now? Because often, the people who seem the most put together are the ones holding themselves together with threads no one else can see. And sometimes, the greatest kindness you can offer someone isn't advice or solutions or even encouragement. Sometimes it's simply saying, I see you. You don't have to be strong with me, because even the strongest minds need a place to rest. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to understand life at a level that others can't? Why their words carry weight? Why their silence feels meaningful? Why just sitting in their presence feels different? It's not luck. It's not natural wisdom. It's not something they were simply born with. It's brokenness. Brokenness has a strange way of giving you depth. When life shatters you, when you fall apart, when you're left picking up the pieces of yourself that you don't even recognize anymore, that process changes you. It carves into your soul the way rivers carve canyons. It makes you deeper. Think about it. A person who has never known heartbreak might enjoy love, but the one who has been broken by it will understand its fragility, its beauty, and its risk in a way others can't. A person who has never faced loss may value life, but the one who has mourned deeply understands how fleeting every moment is. Pain is a teacher no classroom can replace. It gives you a vision that people untouched by it simply don't have. It's like life takes your heart, shatters it, and then says, now you can finally see. And that's why brokenness doesn't just hurt, it transforms. It strips away illusions. It removes the surface-level distractions. It forces you to confront what truly matters. When you've been broken, you stop chasing shallow things. You stop caring about appearances, about impressing people, about winning meaningless battles. Instead, you begin to crave depth. Real conversations, real connections, real meaning. This is why the strongest yet most broken minds often become philosophers without even realizing it. Their suffering forces them to ask questions most people avoid. Why am I here? What's the meaning of all this pain? Who am I when everything is stripped away? And once you start asking these questions, you can never go back to living on the surface again. But here's the paradox. While brokenness gives depth, it also leaves scars. And sometimes, those scars make it hard to connect with others. You see, depth can be lonely. Once you've been broken, it's difficult to find people who get it. Most conversations feel shallow. Most people feel too distracted by things that no longer matter to you. And so, your depth becomes both a gift and a burden. Have you ever felt this? Have you ever been in a room full of people, yet felt like you were living on a different wavelength? Like you were noticing things they didn't, feeling things they couldn't, carrying an awareness they weren't ready for. That's what brokenness does. It opens your eyes, but sometimes you wish they could close again, and yet there's something undeniably beautiful about it, because brokenness teaches empathy. When you've been through pain, you can sit with someone else in theirs without trying to fix it, without rushing them, without dismissing it. You know what it feels like to carry weight, so you don't tell them to just let it go. Instead, you offer them what you once wished someone would offer you: understanding, presence, compassion. This is why the strongest minds, the most broken ones, often carry an energy that draws people in. People feel safe with them, even if they can't explain why. They sense that this person has been through fire and survived, and survival gives you a kind of authority no degree, no book, no lecture can ever give. But here's the part most people miss. Brokenness is not the end. It feels like it when you're in the middle of it, when everything is shattered, when you can't see past the pain. But in time, if you let it, brokenness becomes the beginning of something deeper, something truer, something more alive. In fact, some of the most beautiful things in this world only exist because they were once broken. Stained glass is only stained glass because it was shattered and pieced back together. Diamonds are formed under crushing pressure. Gold becomes pure only after passing through fire. Why should the human soul be any different? So maybe the strongest minds aren't cursed because they are broken. Maybe they are blessed. Because brokenness is what strips away the surface and forces the soul to grow roots deep enough to withstand any storm. And maybe the truth is this: it's not despite their brokenness that these people have depth. It's because of it. So the next time you feel broken, the next time you wonder why life shattered you, remember this: you're being carved deeper. You're being shaped into someone who sees life differently, someone who feels more, loves more, understands more, someone who might be carrying scars, yes, but also carrying wisdom. And maybe, just maybe, the part of you that feels most broken is the part that will make you most whole. Let me ask you something. When you think about your deepest wounds, do you see them only as scars, or do you see them as symbols of survival? Because here's the truth: every scar tells a story, not of defeat, but of endurance. The strongest minds are not those who have avoided pain. They are those who have walked through it, stumbled, fallen, cried, and still found a way to keep moving. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've been broken so many times that you've started to believe you are nothing but fragments. Maybe you've told yourself, "I'll never be whole again." But let me whisper something to you. Wholeness doesn't mean unbroken. Wholeness means embracing your broken parts, learning from them, and realizing that they have shaped you into who you are today. Think about ancient Japanese art, kintsugi. When a bowl breaks, instead of throwing it away, they mend it with gold. The cracks don't get hidden, they get highlighted. The brokenness becomes the most beautiful part of the bowl. And isn't that what happens to the human soul? Your cracks, your fractures, your battles, they are not your shame. They are your gold. They are the places where light gets in, and yet so many of us hide them. We put on masks. We pretend to be fine. We show the world our polished surface and bury our shattered core. But here's the paradox. The very thing you're trying to hide is often the thing that makes you most relatable, most human, most magnetic. Because let's be honest, perfection is boring. Flawless people don't teach us much. But the broken ones, the scarred ones, the ones who have walked through fire, those are the people who make us stop and listen. Those are the souls who give us hope that maybe, just maybe, we can survive too. And that's where the hidden strength of brokenness lies. See, being broken teaches you three things. 1. Resilience. You learn that even when life tears you apart, you can rebuild. You discover a strength inside you that you didn't even know existed. 2. Perspective. Once you've been broken, the little things stop shaking you. You don't get lost in trivial problems because you've faced storms much greater. What used to feel like mountains now feels like pebbles. Compassion. Brokenness softens you. It makes you kinder, gentler, more understanding. You stop judging others so quickly because you know what it's like to suffer quietly behind a smile. Isn't it strange? The world tells us to avoid pain at all costs, to hide our wounds, to only show strength. But life teaches us the opposite. Your pain is what makes you wise. Your wounds are what make you real. And your brokenness is what makes you strong. And if you're listening to this right now, maybe you needed that reminder. Maybe you've been carrying your brokenness like a curse, when in fact it's been your greatest teacher all along. The strongest minds are often the most broken, not because life was unfair to them, but because their brokenness transformed them. It carved them into thinkers, into feelers, into philosophers of their own lives. And while others live on the surface, they carry the depth of oceans. So if you've been feeling like your brokenness disqualifies you, I want you to hear this clearly. It doesn't. It qualifies you. It makes you the kind of person who can walk into someone else's pain and say, "Others, because you first had to heal yourself. The cracks in you are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you've survived. They are proof that you've grown. They are proof that no matter how many times life has broken you, you've put yourself back together again, and that right there is strength. Right. So maybe the strongest minds aren't the ones who have avoided brokenness. Maybe they are the ones who have learned to wear their cracks with pride. And maybe, just maybe, you are one of them.